One game dared to make drastic changes to the series, while the other is beloved by millions and defined 3D platforming forever. Join Mars, Dusty, Brandon, Andres, and me, Sean, in the great debate over which is better, Mario 64 or Mario Odyssey. Alright guys, Mario 64 versus Mario Odyssey. What's the better game?
Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey.
Odyssey is definitely the better game.
It's the better game.
Definitely?
Definitely.
It's
for
definitely
sure.
the better controlling game and the more polished game.
Pretty
But
good.
it
It's
was
also
made like
came out-
way
I mean-
longer. It was way after Mario 64.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, but
way
still.
after, bro.
But still.
You have to take into consideration the timing. Like, obviously, any game that comes out today has a huge advantage. But Mario 64 was like the first game on the Nintendo 64. It pioneered third-person hub world, open world adventure games like that. And then Ocarina of Time kind of took it to another level with the Z targeting. But Mario 64 was the big step before that, like being able to explore around a full 3D environment and the way you do Mario 64 with a movable camera. That was revolutionary. It's just not as seamless and smooth as Mario Odyssey, but it shouldn't be because it came out in 1996.
And that way, like in the controls and stuff, it's a little dated. But I'd have to say, like, in the actual gameplay itself, doesn't feel dated at all. Like, the actual, like, mechanics and missions and level design feels great. It's just one of those games that needs, like, a remake or a remaster to fix the controls. All N64 games didn't control very great. It was just how it was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to put that against it too much, especially since, as you said, it was, like, pioneering everything.
The way I see it, Mario 64 was remade. It's called Mario Odyssey, and it's the definitive edition, so you get Cappy with it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Mario Odyssey is the spiritual succession of Mario 64. You can quote me, not me on the quote Nintendo on that, like that's what they said.
I guess it kind of doesn't feel like Mario 64 at all, though.
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
think, and I know that, and I know why that is, because with the thing with Mario Odyssey is, so let's talk about the buttons, right? So you can jump, right? You can throw Cappy, and you can roll. And then I think from all that, you get all these combos of which you can do. And I think that's what separates it from 64, because, you know, with all that clunkiness is gone. It disappears. It's just so
Very
smooth.
fluid.
Mario Odyssey had,
Yeah,
like,
it is.
you're right. There's like a couple different mechanics that they have, and they all flow seamlessly together, and they combo into so many different things. Like, that's one of the amazing things about Mario Odyssey. Like, I've gotten all the moons, but Mario Odyssey, to me, has incredibly lasting gameplay, because I've just spent time just trying to figure out how to jump from one point to another. And I'm not talking about like normal, you know, pre-designed points. I'm talking about, like, for example, the famous big jump when you start in New Donk City and you want to get to the city part, like that. Just figuring out how you can jump from one point to this giant, across this giant expanse, like, it's insane that you can do jumps like that and beyond.
As I'm going down, timing's really important here. I usually wait until I see some of the characters pop in the background, wait another moment, and then that's when I start the succession of moves after the long jump.
So I love it. It's just, I can always jump into it and always have fun with it and never get frustrated.
Yeah, you don't get, that's a good point. You don't get frustrated by the controls, which I think you were getting a little bit frustrated by the controls when you were replaying it. Like, I can kind of sense it. So I mean, all that's gone.
Yeah, you talking about Mario 64, right? Like that's
Yeah.
it feels clunky by today's standards. Like,
Well,
that's just the reality.
I remember when I was a kid playing Mario 64, even then I thought the controls were like annoying as hell, especially how slippery everything is, and the camera being like the worst camera. Like, even as a
the
kid, I
camera,
was like,
no go.
damn, this is
And no
annoying.
air control. Like, that was the biggest thing. Like, once I was in the air, I was SOL. I was just like gone, dead again.
Once you commit, you have to follow it through, whatever it is. There's no
Once you commit, I'll be
changing
like,
up.
well, there's a life gone. All right, retry. Here we go again.
Yeah, they changed that from Mario Sunshine onwards, because in Mario Sunshine you had the flood that you can use to change your direction in the air. Then in Galaxy you had the spin attack, and then in Odyssey you have capping and diving. Actually, there's a few different things you can do in the air in Odyssey. So it's interesting actually when I think about it. The only thing you can do in you can dive. You can do that in Mario 64. That's
you have that.
But it's only just going a little bit more forward. That's all it is. It's nothing. It's like commit more so towards where you're going, and then just dive.
The ultra commit.
Be like, well, if you already messed up, you just want to die faster, just dive forward.
That's literally it. I remember so many times like, oh crap, I'm done. I'm just gonna dive forward. That's all I can do.
So my argument is. So that was the first 3D platformer, but my god, how Rare could make the controls 10 times better in a matter of 3 to 4 years in games like Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong Country.
Man.
Like, it is just a night and day difference. Like, I'm playing Banjo-Kazooie again, and I'm just like, yeah, I just can't hate on this game. Like, I just love the crap out of it. Like, it controls so much better.
It really does.
Mario 64, like
Banjo-Kazooie to me feels more like a prequel to Mario Odyssey than Mario 64 does.
When it comes to the level design, do you guys prefer the stars or the moons? Like, do you prefer like one main objective for you have to keep going back through the level and things are different, or do you just like one whole area
I like
to
what
explore?
they did with Odyssey.
Yeah.
I think they made it in a way where it's less frustrating. Because that's the thing, like it's fun going for that one objective in 64 and Sunshine because they have the same formula. But with Odyssey, you do have like you can do more, and you're very flexible in terms of how you can go about exploring. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild. You explore the game at your own pace. If you want to go for that one big star or one big moon, sure. But you're not forced to leave the level after that. You can go to another one, or you can find a whole bunch of mini ones in between. Like you can do that. You have a lot more flexibility, and it appeals to a much larger audience in that way. And there's no cons to it. Like if you want to go ahead and change your direction and go to another world, you can.
I think one thing that gets me like immersed into the level design, the world design, is when they make unique characters and like a mini story in each little world. Mario 64 didn't really have that. They had enemies that were associated with the world, but it was like the pink bomb that had a cannon in every level. It was like the same characters just splattered around the same levels, whereas like Mario Odyssey, you had the little skeleton guys with sombreros in the desert area, and then you got New Dunk City with the people, and so on and so forth. And it reminded me of like Banjo-Kazooie, where you have these characters that you only see once in these worlds, but you love them so much that you just remember them. Like it's a neat design that gets me into the game. I get more involved because I'm like, I gotta help these people. It isn't just the same person every time. They don't feel like they live there. These people live here, and we gotta help them unfreeze this desert. And just
I really
like
liked it.
So
there was a story to it.
Finding moons in Mario Odyssey is so much fun that like I literally became addicted to it. Like the second I got to the desert level, like all I wanted to do was just find every single moon. And getting the stars in 64 is fine, but like I don't really like going through each level over and over again, doing basically the same things. Like sometimes they're different, but it's just I don't want to go through these same areas, do the same thing again. Finding moons is just cool. I like looking through random places and randomly finding a moon. Some people don't like how easy it is to find moons sometimes, but that's when I'm just like, that's why there's 70 per level. And
I like what you're saying about how the moons are. It's like how you got addicted to them.
Yeah.
Finding them. Like I like the moon system too, but it's like almost the opposite. I didn't feel obligated to find moons to progress. So that's why I liked it. Like, okay, I'll run across a few moons. As long as I play through the stage, I know that once I get to the end point, I should have enough moons just because how they're scattered. So I never felt obligated to like, dang, I need 2 more moons to get off this stage. So like we both like it for the same thing, but it's like contrasting.
There are those who only are gonna get like 300, 400 moons, and that's fine. And there are gonna be people like me who are gonna get over 900 and then try to do other crazy stuff like breaking through the boundaries of the worlds, right? Like there's so much you can do in the game. It appeals to all different kinds of audiences.
Yeah,
I love it. It's so smart by design.
Even like a 4-year-old kid could probably beat this game with not that many issues if he just like gets the easy to find moons, which I think is like some people have an issue with that, but I don't. Like I don't really see how that's a bad thing.
Nah,
Like,
I don't think so.
it's just
As
like
long
the
as there's also a
hardcore Mario
challenge.
people that have an issue
Right.
with it.
But I'm a hardcore Mario person.
Yeah,
I love it.
Mario's never meant to be like an adult game, like for like super challenging, like strictly. It's always had like these super accessible parts to it that anyone can pick it up and play.
Mario Odyssey is polished. Like there is, I honestly, I have zero faults with Mario Odyssey. There's nothing about Mario Odyssey that I'm like, you know what? They could have done this a little better. The only thing I could say about Mario Odyssey that I would want them to change, it's not even a change. It's just I want more Mario Odyssey.
When I think of Mario 64, I think of ridiculously good music. I think of memorable levels, like everything about them, like they're colorful, but then sometimes they're like super dark and like sometimes they're spooky. Like the evil piano in the house.
Oh, that's so cool.
Moments like that, but then I also think of the camera being poopy and sometimes like hitting people like with the camera and like being able to tell where you are. There's like not a lot of depth perception in that game, so you miss a lot of jumps and you miss a lot of hits on people and whatnot. But then when I think of Mario Odyssey, I think of all the good stuff, but like better everything else. The only thing I could say is while the music in Odyssey is like really good, I don't think it's very memorable, except for like Jump Up
The end.
Superstar, and that's only because they shoved it down our throats for the last like year. And I mean the music is really good, but it's just like I can't really think of much from it except for like the Cascade Kingdom song.
Mario Odyssey had a really strong finale though.
Yeah.
I feel like when you I don't want to. Is this a spoiler? Can I say what happens in the final Bowser fight, or
Yeah,
is that a spoiler?
go for it.
Like when you transform into Bowser, you use Bowser to escape. Peach gets on your back, and you're using that to escape. And you have to break the giant metal block orb stalactites at the end, and you see the music come out, like the Jump Up Superstar music right at the end. Like that is it Jump Up Superstar, or is it a different song?
No, it's a different song.
It's a different one. You don't hear it at all. It's another song. You're right. Like you don't see that coming, and that high you get from that ending song at the finale is just so cool to me. I don't think there's ever been a Mario game that's had that kind of like bombastic sort of finale before. It's just such a special moment that you don't expect. You don't see it coming.
Right.
I really like it.
New Donk City, once you finish that first playthrough and you get the festival, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And Jump Up Superstar plays, and you just feel so good. You're just like, I've accomplished so much. And down there, this huge celebration. It's awesome.
I do deserve this. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There is a lot of like cinematic moments in Odyssey, like fighting the evil, like realistic medieval dragon was like that was probably my favorite level, to be honest.
Ruined Kingdom
so
should have been
cool.
bigger.
That.
There's
Actually,
like,
that is a valid,
There's the only
valid
complaint.
critique. I want that world to be bigger. I
It
want
should
to
have
explore
been way
more of
bigger.
it, but it was
That's
just
so
one.
cool.
it's just this
tower.
tiny little place.
Yeah.
It was almost like they had just a little bit of time left. And they were finished with the game. And they're like, you know what? Let's just throw this in here. It'll just be a cool little snippet. I'm like, cool.
It was
We don't have any
basically
spooky places. We don't got no booze match or anything. We'll just throw a medieval cast on there.
like a giant realistic dragon. Like I did not expect like
It was a crazy fight.
why would that ever be in a Mario game?
You know, we've been speaking very highly of Mario Odyssey, but I'm not trying to say Mario 64 isn't special. It totally is. Like it's revolutionary. Like even Mario 64 also has those special moments. Like, you know, one of the big impactful moments is the end of Mario 64 when you finally beat Bowser. Like the music design in that level thing is really cool because like it gets very quiet. You hear the key. Like the other Bowser levels, when you hear the key drop, it's the only thing you hear in the level. Like, that's just kind of really interesting, especially at the end when you get to fly off and you see Mario fly off with the cap, and then you get to the Mushroom Kingdom and you see Peach and then she bakes you the cake, and then those ending credits. Like, I think that's all super memorable, and it had a lasting impact for me. I loved it. But Mario Odyssey is just, they took all the good things about Mario 64 and they expanded upon those, and they perfected the formula.
I will say Mario 64 is like the best hub world of any game I've ever played.
I remember when Odyssey, when they were still showing like the like trailers and all that, but way before the game came out, I just knew the game was gonna have a hub world, but I mean they got around with not having it.
So Dusty, you played Mario 64 for the very first time within the last like couple weeks, and
Yes.
I want to know I've never met anyone who's never played it from when they were a kid. Never in my life. What is your honest opinion of Mario 64? I want to hear it. I want you to break the internet right now.
No.
Don't destroy my childhood, please.
Oh man, to be 100% frank,
Yes.
it is hot trash. It is straight fiery poop.
Hold on.
What you say?
Stop it.
I cannot
Yeah.
handle that game, dude. It is horrific to play.
Have you played Ocarina of Time on N64 like recently?
So no. See, I played all those on 3DS.
So you never played
For the first
N64
time?
version of Ocarina
I
of Time?
never played the N64 of Ocarina of Time. Or to be honest, I thought Zelda was stupid back in the day.
Back in the day.
As a kid, it just looked completely just ridiculous.
And now, where do you stand on Zelda?
It's awesome. It's one of the
good.
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 Okay, all right. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
No.
That
Yeah,
last line, I need to hear from you. You saying it's one of the
Yeah, I
greatest
need
games
to
I've
hear
ever
that.
played. Like, if you didn't say that, I would have been like, oh, he doesn't know the truth.
I would say
don't know
honestly,
the-
it's honestly a slightly above Banjo-Kazooie for me now.
What
But
did you hate
yeah.
about Mario?
It's honestly one thing about controls is, you know, I've died from stupid things in Mario Odyssey from just me not knowing the controls or just messing it up. But until I practiced it and learned it, once I realized, oh, it's just my fault. It's human error. You know, I finally got the controls down. I could able to do it. But no, man, like I would think I get the controls down in Mario 64, and then it would just slide me right off of the edge, or it would the physics just didn't seem consistent. Like one level you wouldn't think would be slippery on, it was slippier than it seemed in the other levels, and I would fall off of so many edges because of that. It was just the I think it's more so at the time the limitation of the N64 controller, but then I play Banjo-Kazooie, I'm like, they didn't have that problem. So like I don't.
True.
I think it's the curse of just being the first platformer that was on the N64.
It is.
And-
They needed to, be that pioneer to, see what you can do. And I think they made some big strides with that game. But the fact remains, like you said, it was the first one. So there were things that needed to be improved upon. And we saw those improvements in Ocarina of Time. We saw them with Banjo-Kazooie. And then, of course, Mario Odyssey is like the culmination of all platformer games. And they've perfected the formula. Mario Odyssey is the pinnacle of platforming games, which we haven't brought up yet, but platforming games at one point or another were considered to be kind of a dead genre. And Mario Odyssey has proven that there can still be incredible platforming games, but it's usually only Nintendo these days that can get it done right.
I was gonna say Mario Galaxy, those were like the only 3D platformers when those came out, and even like since then, even though how revolutionary and good those were, like still no one really started making 3D platformers.
Like, what is another one that's been close? Like, what is even another modern platformer that's okay? Like, there's Ukulele.
All right, look. Okay, I'm about to play some defense. Okay. Now,
Good.
first. Oh yeah, there you go. Good. All right. So first, let me set the tone. Let me set the time. Let me set the presence. All right, because we're talking good about Mario Odyssey, and that's all good. That's all fine. That's all dandy.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, and I think I'm probably the only one that can understand Stan. So Brandon, when y'all played 64, Mario 64, it had already been out for a while. Even though you were a kid and you were just playing it, like when I first played Mario 64, the Mario game before that was Super Mario World, you know. So it's coming from that, and I don't have any. I can't be skewed by other platformers. Like to me, the triple jump, like that was unheard of. It was like, wow. Even though it's like clunky, and I get it, but that was normal for us. That it was normal for it to be like that. But I think sometimes, like if y'all just playing it right now, like that clunkiness I can feel it, the heaviness of it, because we know what smoothness is. But for me, like when I was playing 64, like looking back, I was like, yeah, that's clunky. But when I was playing it, I didn't know it to be clunky because I didn't know what clunky was compared to what we have now. So
Really
you have to
point.
like with that, you know. So when I'm playing it, so you have things like the triple jump, like going back into a world repeatedly, like without like true punishment, you know, to recollect stars, and that was big to me. That's why I liked 64 so much. I do think Odyssey is the better game, but I can't dismiss 64 like that, because like if you played it right then and there, straight out the box, coming from Super Mario World, it was just so different and refreshing at that point in time right there, versus like maybe if you played it on the 3DS, you know, you're exposed to kind of other stuff already, to, you know, it has a different weight to it.
Mario 64 was actually my first game. That was my first game. Like I had a couple memories from Super Nintendo, but I was like a toddler.
Yeah.
Like when I was, I was born in 91, and I got the N64 when we were in Georgia, and so that it must have, I probably must have gotten it right when it came out, because I was only in Georgia for like 2 to 3 years. So, and I moved to Georgia when I was 2. So yeah, when I was around 5, I guess I was playing the N64, 1996, born 91, and around that time. So I got it. But that was the first game I got, and I thought it was a special thing. I didn't have anything to compare it to, so the frustrations that I had, I just thought that came with the territory, right?
Right.
Like having to spin the joystick to throw Bowser, getting that little, you know, my hand would hurt, but I just thought that was just.
Is what it was.
Do. So you're right in saying there's nothing to compare it to back then, because it was the cream of the crop back then. It was the best, and I don't know if we said it yet, but I think we should ask the question, like, which game is more important for history? I would have to say Mario 64 is more important for history than Odyssey.
Yeah, and this is like, for me, I pretty much think Super Mario World is the best Mario game. But you know, I knew it. That's fine. But so going to 64, I was like, wow, like I couldn't believe like just how much different it was. So, but yeah, for like a timestamp and just importance, yeah, 64, because like just how we said in the video before, just, you know, it's the groundwork, it's the platform, then you build from there. It's the foundation.
You know, that could be said about Super Mario World though too. Super Mario World is the years later perfected version of all 2D Mario.
Yeah, that's.
You go and play the original Mario on it, and you're like, this game, floaty control, slippery platforms. So like
Mario 64.
Exactly.
Really good comparison.
It's a cycle, and so like, I'm just like, sure, like you could easily defend Mario 64 and stuff like that, but it's one thing to go back to the game and be like, you know, but it was the first, so I'll give it some slack.
Yeah.
You can go back and play Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64 and be like, no, this game is still solid.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Solid.
The aging effect.
Yeah.
But I would say Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 are almost kind of like sequels to Mario 64.
They are. They use the same. They use this. I mean, honestly, Donkey Kong and Banjo-Kazooie both use the same engine. I'm almost positive.
They're basically
Very similar.
Take out Donkey Kong, put in Banjo, like it's the
and
same thing.
they're like only like a year or two apart, I think, from each other. But yeah, so like, yeah, it's just one of those things. Is it's more of experience, I guess. Like, since I never grew up with Mario 64, that's why I'm not gonna defend it, because I just can't. Because it's like, if I grew up with it, I could defend it more because of the memories and stuff like that. But like, it's just playing that game now. Like, yeah, I just can't.
It's just
Well, yeah, your perspective is seeing it from what it is now by today's standards, and by today's standards, it doesn't hold up.
Yeah. Like when I was watching him play it, I was like, man, this game really didn't age well. Like I could definitely see it. Like so, I see what he's saying 100%. Like I was like, wow, I remember that, but it looks way worse now.
I wouldn't mind a remaster of that game, like a true remaster,
Right.
like kind of like what
I love the
Activision
fuck
has
out of
done
that.
for Spyro and Crash, like that.
Oh.
True remake. But let me play some more defense.
Okay,
On a point we made earlier that I've been thinking about, and I'm just like, that's not true. About Mario 64, that the levels don't change and there aren't any memorable characters or anything. I feel like in
there's
every
some.
world there's like a different memorable character and there's different progression. Like, as I said, there's King Bob-omb and there's a bunch of different things you can do. Every time you revisit that level, you unlock cannons, you unlock wing caps, and you can always go back and do something different in each level. And there's like, what's the level with the sunken pirate ship and the eel?
That's true. That's progression, actually.
That one changes a lot. You can go in the ship sometimes. I think the ship
that's
even
right.
like they fix the ship and it's sailing again, and there's a big tornado in the middle. And then there's just a bunch, and then like the Ice Kingdom where there's the penguin. First you have to go save the baby, and then you have to do the slide, and then there's like a snowman you can rebuild, and there's a bunch of different characters and different progression things that happen as you get more and more stars, and you can get to more and more places in the world. And in Big Boo's Haunt, I think it's called, you can't even go to the upstairs of the mansion until you beat King Boo for the first time. Then you unlock this whole other area, and the entire like basement section is completely like there's nothing down there until you get more stars, and then all of a sudden there's things to do down there. So I feel like there is a lot of progression and characters and things that unlock as you get more and more stars, which we were kind of saying it wasn't, but I feel like there really is a lot.
I was stating more so story-wise. So, like, you know how in Odyssey, for example, that desert level, you know, their situation is everything's froze over, and you can talk to people and help people along the way to do that, but there's a story to that world. It's like a mini story inside the story. It's like, a story of these people struggling, having this icy whatever, and you can go through and fix that and make the world different, and now these people thank you and things like that. I like having those mini arcs in there, and I didn't think Mario 64 had that. You could change the world, but there was no story to it. There was no reason to do that. Like that water level with the water raises and stuff like that, like that one didn't really have a world. It was just frustrating.
What
Like,
about the Loch Ness Monster thing? Don't you like save it and become friends with it or something?
Doesn't I mean you get on its head and it takes you around a lake, and when you hit it, it cries.
Yeah, there definitely isn't as much story. There are some.
I thought it was
some,
cool.
but
It was a
not
really
actually.
cool Loch Ness Monster, but it was
That was one of my favorite levels, just because it was so like weird to me as a kid. I was like, 'cause I used to be like super into stuff like cryptids and whatnot. I was like, yeah, Loch Ness Monster's real, right here.
right there. And it's like hidden too, right? Because there's different areas of that level. Like you don't necessarily see that level. Like if you only just want to get a couple stars, you may never even see it. It's really interesting. It technically, like they did bring him back in Mario Odyssey. He's just in a lake. Did you guys there's a couple things in Mario 64 that I'm just like, okay, especially back in the day, right? When it first came out, like I was a kid, like there's three things I want to talk about. One, like it wasn't just in the hub world, like there were other areas like the small big world, like where you would see there was like an invisible wall and you could see islands in the background. I would always try to break through the invisible wall. It's like, swim all the way up to those islands that were just silhouettes painted in the background. Like I always try to do that. Then there was the first Bowser level on the first floor, right when you go up the steps and you go into the door and you run towards the Bowser painting. It's Peach's face and it changes to Bowser, and then there's a trap door. I would always try to get past the trap door. I was always trying to make that jump, predict when it would trap me in. I would always try to get past it. And then the third thing I would always try and do is at the final Bowser level, there is the infinite steps if you didn't have enough stars. There was times when I ran for like 30 minutes to an hour. It's like, I'm gonna get there, just keep going.
I believe you can get past them if you like backwards jump up the stairs.
I love both games. I do think Mario
Yeah.
64 needs like a remaster though, because
Yeah.
it hasn't aged as
Yeah.
well.
I
It
don't
has
know
not.
why they haven't done that yet. Like,
Because it's
Nintendo's
Nintendo.
remade every single 3D Zelda game, but not a single 3D
Well,
Mario game.
I don't even want to call them remakes. They're more like remasters.
They just remasters,
Yeah.
So
It's almost like, is Mario 64 the worst aging 64 game? It's like,
no,
Maybe
Golden
GoldenEye
Yeah,
was
worse.
the worst.
And 64
definitely
games
worse.
in general don't
Just-
age very
okay,
well.
alright.
Just try go and play Turok or something, or GoldenEye.
Yeah.
They are. Unfortunately, they just haven't aged well. It's not just Mario 64. The whole era of the first generation of 3D games were just, for a lot of people, it's just a pile of mud and poo.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see how how easy it would be to make a game that was good on the N64 a fabulous game. Like playing mouse and keyboard for GoldenEye 64 is a blast. Like that's way better than using the stupid C buttons on this piece.
Yeah.
N64 controls just don't know. The controller's
So-
not good.
All right, guys, we'll start wrapping it up here. Anyone have any final thoughts?
Yep, it was hot trash and Odyssey.
No! No, shut up. No. Stop my childhood. Can't.
For me, I'll just my conclusive thoughts. Mario 64 is without a doubt the more important game for history, but Super Mario Odyssey is the pinnacle of platform games, and it's the way platform games should be from now on moving forward. It is the better game by today's standard, by far.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's just not as good. Mario Odyssey is like way better.
I have to say, even if they redid the controls for Mario 64, I just think the level design in Mario Odyssey is just better. I do love Mario 64 and the missions and all that. I'd love to see like an Unreal Engine 4 remake, but it's just, and there's so much more content in Odyssey, so much more to do in that game. Like Mario 64 is so short. Even if you 100% it, doesn't belong at all. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Mario Odyssey in this one.
Yeah, I'm going Mario Odyssey on the strength that how smooth, how buttery, how fluid it is. It just flows, man. You put that game in. I thought I was holding butter in my hand with the Joy-Cons. I played with the Joy-Cons. I didn't even play with my Pro Controller. So
Yeah, I did for a while too.
So I was like, wow, I just can't believe how good the game feels. Like, not even like trying to do anything, get moons or anything. So it's just seamless. Like I said, I didn't feel like I had to prioritize getting moons. I could just play, enjoy it, and I beat the game. So hey, it's the better one.
Yeah, I think NonsenseNerd's going with Mario 64.
Yeah, you got me. No, definitely going with Odyssey all the way.
Yeah.
You know, when you guys were mentioning to play it, I was like, okay, I'll play it. Because, I was thinking, I'm like, I really like, the other games on N64. I'm like, you know what, maybe it's a hidden gem I just never got around to playing. And, so I was super optimistic, but I really did not expect the controls to be what they were. Like, I was thinking like they'd be Banjo-Kazooie. I thought they would be, relatively similar to Odyssey, to be honest, just because it's more of the air control I just wasn't used to. Like, there's air control in Banjo-Kazooie because you can fly with Kazooie, and if you're in a bind, you can press the A button and it flutters to get away. There's just that, not missing that air move really makes the game at least a lot harder. Maybe people like that, but like for me, it just made it really, it made it feel really clunky.
So, in conclusion, Mario Odyssey is better, at least according to us random 5 YouTubers. And thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
See ya.
Peace.